It's just a huge honor to be at the Kentucky Dental Association annual meeting in Louisville with none other than the president of the Kentucky Dental Association. He goes by Bill, but his name's William E. Lee, DDS, a native Lexingtonian. Dr. William E. Lee graduated from Henry Clay High School in 73, Vanderbilt University in 77, and the University of Kentucky College of Dentistry in 1981. That's here in Louisville?
No, in Lexington.
Oh, that's okay. He started a private dental practice with his wife, Dr. Janet Faraci Lee, in 1984, and then merged practices with Dr. John Thompson in 1990. Very active in organized dentistry, Dr. Lee is a member of the ADA, the Kentucky Dental Association, and the Bluegrass Dental Society. He is honored to be a fellow in the National College of Dentists, the American College of Dentists, and the Pierre Fauchard Academy. Having served many roles in organized dentistry, Dr. Lee is currently the president of the Kentucky Dental Association and a delegate of the American Dental Association. He has also served on many boards for organizations in the Lexington area, mostly associated with his children's activities. An avid learner, Dr. Lee attends numerous CE courses throughout the year. Away from the dental office, he enjoys spending time with his adult children, Megan and Michael, exercising, traveling, and playing racquetball.
Right.
So thank you so much for so much volunteer time in organized dentistry. I don't think non-members have any idea how many hours you guys spend volunteering time away from family and practice. How many hours do you think you spent non-compensated?
Oh, that's kind of hard to say. It's but it's also a hobby. I don't play golf. I do play racquetball. That's my my exercise, my fun. But I get up and play at 6 a.m. Get my exercise, get my mind stimulated, go out and play racquetball, and I'm ready to go to work. But as far as organized dentistry and stuff like that, that's I enjoy giving back to the profession. I enjoy giving back to my colleagues, and counting the hours. I don't know. But
it's a lot, though.
It's to others, yes. To me, it's probably not enough.
So, you've been, how many years ago since you've been out of school? You graduated in
81.
81.
Yeah, so this is 2019, so 38 years.
So almost 4 decades. Sometimes the kids come out of school and they look at us and they say, Bill and Howie, they get out in the golden years.
Right.
And now it's not. Is it still the golden years, or how's it look 40 years later?
I mean, it's changed. I've made comments. This meeting's back in the Galt House where I started my organized dentistry career. Okay, it's not been in the Galt House for 2 decades. Of course, when it was here before, phones were hanging on the wall. To change the TV channel, you got off the couch, went over and pushed the button. Well, now our phones are in our pockets, along with our TVs, along with our cameras, along with our internet. Things have changed. So what I did to get into dentistry and what you did to get into dentistry is different from what the new graduates are facing. So organized dentistry's got to change to meet those demands. And those individuals got to see what organized dentistry has to give them too. So
what do you see? What are the biggest challenges to dentistry today? Is it insurance? Is it corporate dentistry? Is it Smiles Direct Club?
Yes.
What are the major storms brewing in your opinion for organized dentistry?
Membership. Organized dentistry is it's the voice. Okay, it is the organization. It is the if we don't have the majority, if we don't have the voices to make an impact, then we don't have an impact. And that's the message that we're trying to get, that we have to get across to our not only new members but our older members too that aren't participating. Once we have the voice, well then, we can start making a difference on non-covered services. So we can make a difference on Smile Direct. We can make a difference on live patient exams. We can make a difference on teledentistry and those types of things. Or Medicaid fees. But we have to have a substantial voice in order to do that. Otherwise, we're kind of blown away.
But dentistry has far more membership than at the American Dental Association than the American Medical Association.
Yes. Oh, yes. But you look at what's happened in medicine too. Dentistry is still roughly 80% general practice, 20% specialty. Well, medicine's just the opposite. And they've kind of done it to themselves. They don't have the real voice of the medical association. And dentistry still does, but our membership is declining, and our voice is declining.
So, like how much of a decline? I mean, how much are you talking about?
When I graduated, the membership was well over 75%, or around 75%.
For Kentucky or for America?
National. Okay. I was on council membership, and it was like 73%, and we would try to make a push to get it up to 75%. Now, this was back in the 90s. I think now nationally it's like 63%, something like that.
Now, is that the active? Does that count the all the retirees who are members for free, or does that count?
That's active membership, and it may be life retired. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the number is. That's the number that the ADA uses. I know they're.
So it's 63. So it's about 2 out of 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And is 2 out of 3? Is it giving you an effective voice?
Well, yeah, it still does. It still does. Now, in Kentucky, we're just a little over 50%. So when I go to a legislator or go to an administrator and say, well, I'm speaking for about half the dentists in Kentucky, well, they have the opportunity to say, well, good thing you're not talking about the other half.
And how many dentists are in Kentucky? How big?
A little over 2,000.
2,000 total, or your
total.
half? Your
total.
half.
Total. Yeah.
So about 1,000 are members of the KDA,
right?
And there's 2,000.
Yeah.
And you're close to. You're very close to Nashville. How far are we from Nashville?
Nashville from here, from Louisville, about 3 hours.
And that's where Smiles Direct Club is.
Nationally, I guess so. Yeah.
So that's basically your backyard.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
So what do you think of things like Smiles Direct Club?
Well, obviously, it's they're practicing dentistry without a license.
Yeah.
Basically, and ADA has filed a lawsuit against Smile Direct.
Yeah.
And I fully support that.
Yeah. Now that they claim they're teledentistry, do you see this teledentistry?
I don't. No.
Well, now that you've been doing this 38 years. I just celebrated 32 in my practice. So much of the podcast people, they just walked out of school. What advice, after almost 4 decades of doing this, all the way to the president of the Kentucky Dental Association, what advice would you give to someone just coming out of dental school?
Well, I would say get involved. Okay, certainly get involved in organized dentistry. Let me put it this way. If you were to go out and start a practice, is it easier to start a practice from the ground floor, or is it easier to start a practice and buy a practice?
Buy a practice.
Buy a practice. The thing that draws, the main drawback with that is the expense. But you can buy a practice and and then over time customize it to the way you want to practice things. Well, you've got a practice called the ADA. It's 160 years old. Okay, it is old, but it's got a tremendous reputation. It's got some gray hairs on the top end of it, but you get a group of guys for $1,000 a year that can come in and customize it, tailor it to their needs, and you've bought a practice. You've bought an organization who has the reputation, the respect of the nation, and you're not inventing the wheel. You're not building it from the ground up.
I'm afraid that a lot of the young kids they have these very wonderful visions of America, that it's just made in truth, liberty, and justice, in the American way. And if they ever saw how it actually operates, it's money's the answer. What's the question? If you're not in there with your lobbyists fighting tooth and nail for your position,
Right.
the insurance are going to take it away. Corporate's going to take it. They just think that it's judged in this fair in a fair way. It's a war, 24 hours a day, and it's. What's your joke? You don't want to see how sausage and
Right.
politics are
Exactly.
made.
Right.
So have you seen that in your
Oh
life?
yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Well, as president of the Kentucky Dental Association, I've had the opportunity, tried to make the opportunity to meet with several people in the administration. We've got a Medicaid issue in Kentucky, and we set up appointments with several administrators. And last minute they get canceled or postponed or changed. Well, it seems like they've got better things to do than talk to dentists.
Well, you got 5 dentists in there. Paul Gosser from Arizona.
On the national level, yes.
Yeah, I actually went to Creighton University. We were both in the same Swanson Hall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were both in the same, what do you call that, dormitory.
Okay.
You got a guy from Georgia, Texas,
Right.
Idaho. There's 5 dentists in there.
Yes.
Did you ever meet with any of those guys?
I have met them, yes. Yeah. To spend any time with them, no. Personally, no, I haven't.
Yeah, but do you think that helps dentistry having
absolutely.
5 congressmen in there? That are dentists?
Absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have any legislators in the state of Kentucky in our General Assembly here in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've kind of asked for or pushed for or something like that, but nobody stepped forward yet. But yeah, to have national representation from the dental profession, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think? What other challenges do you think these young dentists will have, and what advice would you give them?
Well, it's debt. When students are graduating with a $250,000 debt, they're already behind the 8 ball. And it affects them being able to go out and get financing to start a practice or to buy a practice, or to buy a home, to buy a car, start a family, those types of things. But on the flip side of that too, I was fortunate. I just sold my half of my practice just a year or so ago. But I was fortunate. I had a very nice young man who had all the qualifications I would look for in a checkbook. But there's a lot of people in my situation who are looking to sell or to get an associate in their practice, but they can't find somebody because the younger people have so much debt they can't afford to come into their practices.
And housing is down in the United States because
Yes.
these people have so much student loan debt they can't get a house. So would you say that your practice was rural or urban?
No, it's urban. I'm in Lexington, just right on the bell line.
You're married to a dentist?
Yes.
Janet. And so what advice? A quarter of our listeners are still in dental school.
Yes.
So they're dating right now. They're little lovebirds. What advice would you give to 2 little young lovebirds that are going to get married from dental school? Did you meet your wife
in school? In dental school. Yeah, it's funny.
Was that common back then, or was that a rare thing?
It was. There weren't that many women in dentistry back then. So in that sense, it was rare.
How many people were in your class, and how many were
Out of
girls?
60, we had 12 women.
Well, that was high for back then.
It was the highest at that point. In my wife's class, year behind, there was 20 out of the 60. So, and that was the highest, and then it went back, dropped down. Of course, now women make up half the classes, and has for quite a while. So, dentists marrying dentists are fairly common now. Now, I said, I'm never going to date a dental student, never going to marry a dentist, I'm never going to work with my wife. And I did all 3. and it turned out to be the best things ever,
Yeah.
We worked together. We merged our practice with Dr. John Thompson. My wife, we had 2 kids, so she went part-time. And then she went back to teach at the dental school, and ended up starting, half a day a week to day and a half a week to 3 days a week to full time. So she ended up teaching full time. She developed cancer and 7 years ago passed away.
I'm
So,
sorry.
well, thank you. That's okay. But she had already moved out of the practice and was teaching when that happened. Our kids were grown, fortunately. But as far as advice, we looked at it as we were equal. We were both professionals. It was. There was times when we would come home for dinner and we were talking dentistry, and finally our daughter said one time, okay, enough shop talk, let's talk family, and then we kind of go, oh yeah. So we really made an effort to limit ourselves, home was home, work was work, and understand that, and life is good.
So when something that painful happens to you, how long does it take you to get back to your feet when something like that happens?
You never really get back. You adapt. As an example, this is the first time I'm back in this building for my dental meetings. I have very fond memories of spending my meetings here with my wife and my family. And it's it's been a challenge at times.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, thanks.
That has got to be the toughest. You're in so I got to ask, what is the Bluegrass Dental Society?
That's the local component. That's what it's called.
Oh, it's not a bunch of dentists that play bluegrass instruments.
No, well, it's in Central Kentucky, which is the bluegrass. It's the bluegrass state. It's the horse farms. That's what the region is known as. You look in the grass, and it's the bluegrass variety.
That was funny. I was telling a patient this week that I'm going to the Kentucky Dental Association meeting, and she said to me, she said, "Is that where the Kentucky Derby is?" And the first thing I thought was, I imagine the Kentucky Derby's in Kentucky, but that is
well, Churchill Downs is about a mile that way.
Yeah, and it's my mom's Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good.
I mean, when we grew up, it's every time there's a horse race, of anywhere. And in fact, what was the big one so many years ago? The Triple Derby winner.
Well, Secretariat.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was an amazing deal. So you're also a lot of the kids you're a fellow in the International College of Dentists, right, and the American College of Dentists and the Pierre Fauchard Academy. Talk about those three things. I'm sure a lot of the listeners don't.
Well, they're honorary societies, and you're nominated for the work that you do and different things. They're all different organizations, meaning different things. The American College has a lot to do with the ethics of dentistry. Their profiles, or, white coat ceremonies and stuff like that. International College is just what it says. It's international. Pierre Fauchard is charitable contributions events or internationally.
When I was in France, and we're doing podcasts from Paris, France. When you know it, I go to the Pierre Fauchard Museum.
Yes. Okay.
It's closed for remodeling.
Oh, really? Okay.
I go, what was the luck of that?
Yeah.
So what do you, being the president of the Kentucky Dental Association, what do you think how you see dentistry different now that you've done that experience than when you walked out of dental school? Does it make, your journey being the president of the Kentucky Dental Association, all that you've been through, how do you think you see dentistry different than this doctor here who just graduated an hour ago from dental school?
Different. That's a good question. And I'm not exactly sure how to answer it. One of the things that philosophies or whatever, one of the things, I want to leave the world, I want to leave the profession better than where I found it. You know, and can I say I've done that? I'm not 100% sure. Quite honestly, you know, when I graduated, the profession was, you know, our organizations were 73, 75%. You know, we didn't have the third-party issues that we have now. We didn't have the student debt we have now. We didn't have some of the issues that we do have now. So in that regard, you know, I'm not sure that we're in a better situation in that regard. On the other hand, if I hadn't done what, you know, participated in the organized industry the way I have, and my colleagues and the people like us, where would the profession be now? You know, so have I done good? Yes. You know, is the profession in good hands? Is it, you know, I tell you what, the science and the technology, if I were coming out of dentistry right now, I would be excited to be practicing. Now, running the business, I'm not so sure.
So when I think one of the biggest differences when I got out of school is I had my fees, and if you had Delta Dental, I sent you what I did, and they paid 100% of clean exams and X-rays,
Right.
80% of root canals fillings, and half on crowns and dental partials. Now they send me the
Right.
fee, and I mean, so I actually. My fees today are 42% lower than they were in 1987.
Right.
How has that been a game changer? And what is the relationship between the KDA and Delta? I mean, they have to work together somehow. I mean, so how does that work?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat that you are. When I graduated, you know, Delta and all the other insurance companies had a max of $1,000. Well, Delta still has a max of $1,000. Of course, have my fees stayed at you know, $200 a crown? No. You know.
And does your assistant still get paid the same amount of money?
No.
Per hour? Yeah.
No. Now, have we made efforts? Have we been in discussions to try to change that? Of course we have. Now, but you know, have we been able to make that happen? Well, obviously not.
Well, what is the relationship like though? I mean, when you talk to Delta, because if you look at the $1,000 max when Delta started, if it was adjusted for inflation, it would be well over $5,000.
Right.
So every time the Earth goes around the sun, inflation drives up the cost of labor, labs, supplies, all that stuff. But insurance, same. So when you're having those discussions, what is their side of the story?
Well, you know, we're kind of stuck, in my opinion. You know, because you know, the way to combat that is saying, well, we're just going to stop treating our patients. We're going to stop taking the Delta. You know, and you know, and who does that hurt? Doesn't necessarily hurt us. It hurts our patients, and we're in our business to serve our patients. And you know, that's, and Medicaid is a whole nother example of that. You know, we're there to treat our patients, particularly the underserved. You know, so we, you know, we try to help those who can't help themselves, and if we get paid for it, great. That's what we want to do. But if we can't, you know, government and the administrations have us in that lock.
It's amazing because Delta Dental of Kentucky is affiliated with affiliates in Arkansas, Indiana,
Yes.
Michigan, New Mexico, North Carolina, Ohio, and Tennessee, and collectively are among the largest dental plan administrators in the nation. I think there's only one bigger than this one, right?
Probably,
And,
California or something like that.
Yeah, and it's an amazing deal. So insurance has changed big. You also said technology's changed big. I mean, my gosh, when we got out of school, the big new thing was going from a gold crown to a PFM.
Right.
And now a PFM is almost it's on its deathbed. It's almost
right. Well,
it's not doing well.
You know, in our practice, when I merged with you know, John Thompson, we were one of the first 10 in the nation to get a dental laser. Yeah, with the IndiYag laser, one of the first 10 in the nation to get that, and that was big new technology. You know, gosh, several years ago we got the E4D. So we're doing crowns in an hour, crowns in a day. So yeah, talking about PFNs, we aren't even doing that anymore. You're right. The science and the technologies, we're growing enamel. I talk to the graduating classes and I'm saying, tell you what happened, when I graduated 38 years ago, we were talking about gold crowns and that was my standard. And now that you're saying that, the standard is full porcelain crowns, and 38 years from now, one of you guys will be standing up here at the podium saying, well, back in my day, I had to put my fingers in your mouth, and you actually had to restore a tooth, not grow a tooth.
Now, where's John Thompson on your website?
He retired. I mean, Dr. Chalathorn, 10, 12 years ago, but Dr. Thompson now. Dr. Thompson was older than I am.
Okay.
10 years older than I am. He sold taught to Dr. Chalathorn, who's 20 years younger than I am. And then now I have, we ran its course. I was the old guy, and I just sold my practice to Dr. Carty, who just graduated from University of Louisville School of Dentistry a couple years ago.
Now, did you pick him because he had the same name, William?
That was coincidental.
That was the main reason why?
Yeah, that was, he just turned out to be a real nice guy.
So that's another great question is, what is the best transition when you sell a practice? Some people say that they want you to sell it and disappear tomorrow. Some say they want you to stay on for 6 months or a year. How do you see a transition? What's the best transition?
Whatever works best for you. And that's the best thing that I'll say, okay? What worked for us on both, when Dr. Thompson phased out and Dr. Chalathorn came in. Dr. Chalathorn was an associate for a year and a half, something like that, and then he bought Dr. Thompson out over a course of a 2-year period. So there were 3 of us in that practice for about a 3 or 4 year period before Dr. Thompson finally phased out. Now, when Dr. Chalathorn came in, he was ready to go start, boom, and we originally had tried to do the same type of setup that Dr. Thompson, Dr. Chalathorn did, but he said, well, let me write you a check, and you stay on for a year and a half, and then we'll let it go, and that was amenable to me. So that's the way it worked for me. There are some practices where the older doctor trying to get out, he wants to hand you the keys and turn and walk away, or physically, he's in a position where he can't or she can't continue to practice, or the new dentist needs to be mentored, needs to be brought along, which takes longer time. It depends on the situation, and that's where a good broker, good ADA practice transitions. A new program that the ADA has. Actually, it's a pilot in Maine and Wisconsin. That is a practice transition program that the ADA is developing, which will do that. It'll pair a new dentist with an older dentist, but it's a process that matches not just dollars, but the personalities and philosophies, and so far it's working.
So I want to. So Dr. Fauchard Chalathorn is married to an orthodontist.
Yes.
So does she get mad? He likes to do Invisalign.
Yes.
Or do you see much turf wars between general dentists and specialists? And how does it play off in a husband and wife when the general dentist is doing Invisalign, when maybe the wife thinks you should be sending it to my office?
Well, in that situation, it's not that big of a deal because, she's a wonderful person, has a great practice. She has a partner too, and actually he'll bring stuff home to her as a consult. And say, hey, look, can you help me with this, or is this something you need to be seen?
But do you see many? Have you had much experience before? The reason I'm asking is, let's say you're a young kid, and I see this on Dental Town. People posting a lot where they're like, they're in a small town, they go to a study club, maybe it's Childress, Texas, and she's thinking, well, I want to do this molar endo, but what if it fails? Because there's Kyle, the endodontist, and I want to do this Invisalign, but there's Bill, the orthodontist. I mean, how does a little young graduate fit in at the study club, avoiding turf wars, or should she not think about it, or is it a non-issue?
I'd say don't think about it.
Don't think about it?
Yeah.
And in fact, I would say the opposite. I would say if I was going to do molar endo and Bill was the only endodontist in my small town, I'd say, hey, Bill, I'm gonna try this molar root canal. And if his reaction was fear and scarcity, like, well, you shouldn't do that, you should give it to me, then you can just check out Bill's name as lives in fear and don't waste any more time. But if he said, hey, well, let me know how it goes, now he thinks in hope, growth, and abundancy. And if you just edit out all the toxic people in your life gets so much, you just have so much more fun and happiness. And
no, I understand that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask questions, of specialists, of colleagues. I never did, and if you get an abrasive response, well, you're right. Check them off. Not to go there anymore. My experience has been that you're going to find most dentists are going to be open to offering assistance or help or guidance or whatever. Okay, that's been my experience. Now, I'm the gray hair guy too, so.
Well, at least you have hair. I'll never give any sympathy for gray hair when I can have none. So another thing I want to ask about is these partnerships. When you're married, there's social glues. You have love and family and children. And then when you marry a dentist partner, you don't have all those glues. And, half the marriages end in divorce. What did, the pros of a partnership is we get to split the cost of a laser, a CAD cam, a pano.
Right.
Hopefully, with a partner, you cover more hours in the week, since where I come from in Arizona, 8% of all emergency room visits are odontogenic in origin, because the dentists are closed. The dentists. So, what advice would you give on a partnership?
That's good. That's a hard question. And I've always had a partnership. It's I never wanted to practice alone. But that's my personal philosophy. I always liked having a second opinion. I always liked having a colleague that I could bounce ideas off of. But that's me. Most dentists, I think, prefer to be a solo practitioner. A lot do. Okay. To having a partnership, you're right. It is a marriage. It is as much giving as it is receiving, and you've got to be willing to see that, and to be willing to sacrifice some of the control, without obviously sacrificing yourself, and that's a delicate balance.
Yeah, because maybe one dentist wants to buy a $150,000 CAD CAM machine, and the other one wants to buy a $100,000 laser, and the other one doesn't want to buy anything. How do you work your way out of that?
And there again, it's also what stage of life. As I said, we were if an older partner is. You don't want to put any more money back into the practice because he doesn't want, he's not going to get it back out. Where a younger practitioner is looking to invest in the practice so that he can build it up. So there's different philosophies.
So what expensive? You guys have bought some expensive equipment. You guys got a BioLace laser. Mm-hmm. That's you remember how much that cost or?
Off the top of my head, no. No.
I mean,
it was expensive.
So do you think
six figures?
Do you think the BioLace laser was a return on investment? Are you glad you bought it? Or
No, we're glad we bought it. Yes, from a charge or material standpoint, hard to say whether it paid for itself. From the publicity, so to speak, or the marketing, although we didn't direct market, I would say it did. The E4D, the in-office crowns, the mill, that certainly did. Okay, as expensive as it was to set up and
why did you go with Plan Mecca's E4D? Plan Mecca is in Helsinki, Finland, and their E4D is in Dallas, as opposed to Sirona, Dentsply Sirona.
When we did the research, that just seemed to be when we did it, we had it we've had it 4 or 5 years, something like that.
And you're glad you bought it.
Yeah, we liked it. Yeah, it spoke to us. The literature at the time was the margin of error was better. The software was easier to manipulate.
Yeah, it's funny because on Dental Town, talk about, oh my gosh, sometimes my homies can be challenging, but we had to so E4D is owned by Plan Mecca. It's one of the biggest dental companies in the world. And we had to separate on the CAD cam we had to separate the CIRAC form with the Plan Mecca form, because the people who are paid spokesmen for CIRAC, they're so aggressive.
They are.
And we had to separate the Plan Mecca and then ban a bunch of them, because anytime they ask a question on Plan Mecca, they just go on there and say, well, if you would have bought a CIRAC machine, it's like, shut up. And we ban those people. We actually ban them. We there's no place for toxicity. And remember, on Dental Town, on every post, there's a report abuse button that goes to Howard Goldstein and volunteer dentist. And we play baseball, 3 strikes and you're out. But the main question is, you are not rural, you're urban,
right? But
you still found milling your own crowns was a good idea for you.
Yes. Now, our office was large enough that we actually had an in-house laboratory. We had a dental lab technician in our office, and we had that from the time that Dr. Thompson and our practice merged back in 1990. So we always had a lab tech, and which was fabulous. So if a shade was off just a little bit, or something needed to be tweaked, or so whatever, Gary come over. He took a look. Immediately, it was done. We didn't have to send it back to the lab and retemporize or whatever. And actually,
that's Gary right there.
That's Gary. Yeah.
So you know what? That was the thing back when I was in high school, and I would go visit Kenny Anderson and Prepard and Peltzer and Knutson. Having your own lab was far more common than it is today.
Yeah.
So do you think the CAD cam is the new modern day lab man? But you still have Gary, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And is he doing more removable lab work or Crown and Bridge?
He Crown and Bridge. He does all our removable up to processing. Okay. He doesn't do the we do outsource that. Not because he can't, but it's just he doesn't. Okay. Yeah. But he's Crown and Bridge trained, and even though technically I can design and mill off the E4D and everything like that, I've got an experienced lab tech who knows all the stuff, and can stain it and everything like that. Why waste my time when I've got?
I noticed a lot of my friends that bought CERAC machines or E4Ds or whatever, that in order to schedule a patient to numb, prep, scan, mill, seat, was taking 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
So what they did is they numb, prep, scan, make the temporary, release them, and then at the end of the 1 day a week, a lab tech comes in and mills out all the crowns.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Someone who, because how many crowns has Gary made in his lifetime?
Oh, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. And so when you go buy a CAD cam and your best idea is that your dental assistant who's never made a crown is now going to start making the crowns, or you who didn't go to school to be a lab tech
Right.
but went to school to be a dentist, now you're going to slow down and be a lab tech. It's a challenging situation, but
Well, so that's our situation with Gary is that, a patient comes in, we schedule, 90 minutes to 2 hours, numb, prep, scan, and then I move on. Laptop goes to the lab, Gary, designs mills. I'm seeing another patient over in another chair, the patient, patients with their Kindle, their book, their magazine, or whatever, takes 5 to 7 minutes to design it, 20 minutes to mill it. So half an hour later, we got a crown right there. Patient's still numb. After I've already anesthetized and prepped and scanned the next patient sitting in the chair next to him, I come back and insert this crown. And the process keeps on going. We'll do, if we're doing single units, we can do, 4 or 5 in the morning, 4 or 5 different patients. Now, of course, multiple units. That's
scanning and milling is for single units. So you wouldn't be doing a large.
Well, no, not in that way. Not in that way.
It's amazing how CAD CAM has come so far. Would you recommend it if you didn't have an in-house lab? Talk about DSOs. The only DSO that I know that has an in-house lab in all their locations is Aspen. And I think they have a better target market. Before I left, I was in Safeway, and I saw a patient, and I said, how are you doing? And I said, how's everything going? He goes, I don't come to you anymore. He goes, because whenever I have to reline or whatever, you always have to send it to the lab and be back. He said, but a new Aspen Dental opened up by me, and where are they at? Not Cave Creek, Casa Grande. And he goes, I go down there and they do the reline while I sit in the waiting room and they do the whole thing while I wait. And I thought, well, that is better.
Yeah.
And so Aspen's the only one I know that has a lab in all their locations.
Really?
Well, Clear Choice does with the implants.
Yeah, okay.
The all-on-4 where
Right.
they have, and that was their business model, mixing the surgery with the prosthodontist, the lab tech, all in one.
Well, see,
and that's kind of what you've been doing
absolutely,
your whole career.
Well, when you talk about the same day crowns or that type of stuff, patient, you're not having to temporize, and then you're not having to worry about that temporary coming off before the next patient, before they have to come back, and then you're not having to reappoint them, taking up more chair time, taking up, wondering if they're going to show up, that type of stuff. So, patient comes in, they've chipped the cusp off, going to need a crown. Well, they, within an hour and a half, 2 hours later, they're done. They're complete. They're fixed, and they're happy.
When I ask the dentist what they're most stressed about, most of them will say it's all the people. It's either the people, the patients, the people, the staff. You have a whole load of staff members here. She's just got out of school. She's gonna probably be someone's associate for 2 or 3 years. She'll start her own practice. What advice would you give her? How do you manage a team of people? I mean, there weren't any courses on it in dental school.
No.
Where do you learn that?
Well,
what's your advice?
Staff is probably the most important to me aspect of dentistry. The technical skills, the patients. Dentists are going to know. If you want to see good dentistry, you don't look at the final restorations. You look at the preps. That's how you judge a dentist. Okay?
You look at the preps.
Preps, yeah.
Okay.
That's how you judge a dentist. You don't look at you judge your lab tech by looking at the restorations. Okay, but to me.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. But to me, a patient's not going to know whether you're a great dentist or just a good dentist. Okay, but they're going to relate to you as a personality. They're going to relate to your staff even more so. So to have a good staff, that can relate to your patients, that are honest with you, that work hard. Those are the individuals you have to find. Okay, how to do that? That's a crapshoot. I got fortunate because most of my staff, of course, I just retired, but most of my staff had been there for 10 years or more. I've got somebody there that was there when I first got there.
But isn't it a red flag? Is it a red flag to you when you see somebody who has an office 10, 20, 30 years old, but no one's worked there longer than 2 or 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you got that revolving door, then you've got to ask why.
Yeah, well, when an office has a revolving door, the owner's got to own it, right?
Well, that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, because you're selling the invisible, so I know the difference between a Whopper with cheese and a Big Mac.
Yeah.
I don't need to go to Wikipedia. But when you tell me I have 4 cavities, I mean, I don't know if I have 4 cavities. If you told me I had prostate cancer and need to have my gallbladder removed, I'm at the mercy of you.
Right.
So if everybody's a revolving door, and every time, that's the number one complaint they have on all these DSOs when they come into my office.
I agree.
They say, well, I went in there and he said I had 5 cavities. I thought, well, that's weird. But when I went back, he doesn't even work there anymore.
Yeah.
And every time I go in there, so if you're a DSO and you can't even keep your dentist, I mean, that's the number one flack I hear.
Yes.
So, and it's the same with other dentists in general. So what does the revolving door tell you about DSOs if their average dentist works there 1 year?
Well, it's a Walmart. It's you're getting what you paid for. I don't trust that. But as I said, I've been fortunate. I've got a whole patient pool that comes back to see my hygienist. They don't come see me, but they come see the hygienist because they spend 55 minutes with my hygienist, only 5 minutes with me. And that's the relationship that brings them back. But if that hygienist is different every 6 months, that trust isn't there. That trust is, and so why is that patient going to come back?
Yeah, and plus they don't even know what a good cleaning is. They just know what they're used to.
Right.
And I remember the funniest thing. When I started my practice, I thought I had one of the worst hygienists because she always used that baking powder machine gun.
Right. Yeah.
And made a mess. And when the patient was done, they had it everywhere. And so she went on a maternity leave. And the next hygienist that covered for her, I thought was much better. She didn't make a mess. She was just not clean. Everybody was upset that this one didn't use the baking powder machine gun. I thought, wow. So I mean, so it's just who you have a relationship with.
Yeah.
So when you have an invisible product like medicine, like we do, trust is very important.
Oh yes. Yeah. To me, it is. I as an example, I went to my mom's internist. That was the doctor that I started with. And developed a relationship with him, and they turned out to be a patient of mine too. So mutual trust in that regard. Well, he retired 2 years ago, and said, give me a name, give me somebody I can go to. And he was busy, didn't get me a name by the time I needed to go back to see a doctor, at least when my regular recall came up. So I went to someplace, and I hated it, absolutely hated it. I was just not comfortable. I didn't get the time of day. I just didn't think that this individual was paying me any attention, me personally. I was a number, and I called my old doc up and said, you're going to have to help me here. If I can't see you, give me somebody who's going to be like you, And he did, and I've got a great relationship with my new doc now. It's because I've got trust in him. Now, whether he's saying the right things or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Who do you think would have a much more successful practice? A person with great people skills, but a below average dentist, or perfect dental skills and below average people skills?
Without a heartbeat, people skills.
Oh, I know it. I'm telling you, I know some of the most busiest practices in the world where guys are just crushing it, never take, and they complain about the CE that the state recommends they take. But man, if you get an A in relationship, people skills, staff management, they're never going to know that your crown didn't fit.
The best clinician in my class, graduating class, the best overall clinician in my class could not make it in private practice.
Yeah. So people skills is worth far more dollars than technical skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we sell an invisible product.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's why I believe that so many people are always experts in politics, because you can't see their thoughts. But you say, well, because see, on golf, when you go golf, everybody says you're a lousy golfer, and then you go try to do a layup on a basketball, and they say you can't dunk a basketball.
Right.
So they and that's why people hate math. You know why they hate math? Because there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer,
right.
and you're wrong because you're crazy. But then, so they say, okay, well, where can I go where there's no scorecard and I can just be right because I believe it? And it's all this, it's like art, critics, music experts.
Right.
You know, anything without a scorecard is where they gravitate to. And when people say they're not good at math, I say, well, then be a music critic.
Yeah.
Be
Well, that's funny. Both my kids were in band, a marching band. And Lafayette Marching Band in Kentucky was either number one, number two in the state for, 2 decades. Always been on the top. Well, I'm tone deaf almost, and I couldn't tell what's good or bad on the field. I can see lines and I can see steps and the continuity, that type of stuff. But whether it was a good performance or not, I didn't know. But by gosh, somebody did, and the subjective scores, they always were either number one, number two in the nation, or in the state.
So, which song do you like better, the ABCs or what's it say, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or what's the other one?
Not Monday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
No, what's the ABC song, and then what's the other, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Oh, okay.
And which song do you like better? You know which song you like better? Same song. It's the same song. And I love that with my granddaughter. It's Mozart. That's Mozart's song. And
I didn't realize.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Yeah, it is.
So I always sing that to my grandchildren. One after I sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, then A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
I didn't realize the melody.
Well, actually, have you ever listened to Mozart's version of it? It's 3.5 hours long, 14 different renditions. It is the most wild. You'll never think of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and How I Wonder Where You Are without listening to the originator. But thank you so much for letting me podcast interview. Thank you so much for all you've been to dentistry.
Well, certainly.
Congratulations on being the president of the Kentucky Dental Association. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom with all my homies.
Well, sir, and actually, I appreciate you being here. Welcome to Kentucky, and hopefully you come back to our meeting.
You know that my father, I actually lived in this town when I was 10 years old. So I got to tell you, long story short, my dad had 9 Sonics, and 5 of them were in Wichita. And then he wanted to go national, so he had one in Louisville, Abilene, Kansas, Kearney, Nebraska, Childress, Texas, and I learned more from my father on what his mistakes were than what he actually did. I love the fact he was an entrepreneur. I love the fact that, but in Wichita where he had 5, he had a management team and was doing really, really well. What killed him was the one in Childress, Abilene, Kansas, Kearney, Nebraska, and Louisville, Kentucky. So I spent each one of my high school summers on an opening crew.
Okay.
So I spent a summer in Louisville, Kentucky, which the summers were awesome because Dad would lead me there with his Lincoln Town Car, opening a Sonic drive-in in a hotel with a credit card for 3 months.
What's not to like?
And Childress and Abilene and Kearney. I mean, I had the most amazing summer of my life.
Good for you.
In all 4 of those. And, I got to tell you, the one lesson I had to learn the hardest, this is the only place I ever got shot at. I saw my first tobacco field, and I just, like in Kansas, I wanted to hop the fence and go explore and pull up some plants and throw them in the back of the car. And there was some shack over there, and I heard a ping, and I thought, was that a shot? And a ping, and I thought, holy shit, they're shooting at me. And so rule number 1, you can play in anyone's cornfield in Nebraska and anyone's wheat field in Kansas, but you can't play in a tobacco field, can you?
No, I guess not. Yeah. Although there's not many tobacco fields around anymore.
Well, there were a bunch of them back then. That was back in the
yes,
70s.
For sure, yes. Yeah.
But and the plants were more higher dollar. But man, I love my summer in Louisville. I had the fondest memories here.
Oh, good.
And that river, I pulled catfish out of that river, size of my arm. It was fun times.
Well, good for you. Well, welcome back,
and thank you for all you've done.
Well, thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
All right, appreciate it.